Kettlebell Drenga rating season is upon us. The battle for the title of North American champion returns to the Twin Cities for the 2024 WKSF North American Championship. Register today for your chance to fight for glory and claim your spoils. Early bird registration is available now for only $80 until July 31st, with raffle prizes for all competitors and the opportunity to win cash prizes for top performers. We will be back at the Athlete Lab in Little Canada, Minnesota on Saturday, September 28th, and accepting video submissions for online competitors. Go to TwinCitiesKettlebellClub.com today to register. Come, answer the call of battle. Join us and fight for your clan, fight for yourself, claim your spoils and your glory. Sign up now, and may your name forever ring out in the Hall of Champions. Sign up today at TwinCitiesKettlebellClub.com. Welcome to the Platform Podcast, where we talk to coaches, athletes, experts, and real people to learn about their approaches to training, nutrition, mindset, and much more. I'm your host, Jordan Kundi-Wright, founder and head coach at the Twin Cities Kettlebell Club, and our mission is to become our best selves through sport. Now, this episode is brought to you by Virus Athletic. To perform at your best, you need to equip yourself with the best gear. The only problem is that only about the top 5% of athletes have access to customized gear built for their body and specialized for their activity. Fortunately for the rest of us, Virus is not following suit. Their products are tested with the world's top athletes, but designed for you and your passion. With over 100,000 satisfied customers in 30 countries and over 6,000 five-star reviews, they know how to make apparel designed for you and the activities that you love, like kettlebell sport. So, if you want to take your performance to the next level, here's a simple process. Shop Virus, train with confidence, elevate your performance, go dominate. I personally want to thank Virus for their support of the 2024 USA National Kettlebell Sport team. They provided uniforms free of cost to the athletes who competed at the 2024 WKSF World Championships in Rzeszów, Poland. Their support means so much to our community, our sport, and our country. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. This episode is a special one. As you can probably tell, it has a theme. I had the pleasure to interview 3 members of the American Kettlebell Lifters Union national team that competed at those World Championships: Ayden Jones, Paul Klein, and Gianna Kreider. We dig in on their experience competing internationally, how they felt about their performance, what it's like to hear the Star Spangled Banner played while you are on the podium getting a gold medal, and much more. I hope you enjoy the episode. And if you do, please give us a like, share it, leave a rating and review, subscribe on YouTube, click the bell to get notified when the new episodes drop. All of those things, any and all of those things help us grow our reach. And of course, if you have questions or if you want help reaching your goals, reach out to me. I help athletes of all levels achieve their goals using my integrated coaching approach. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Twin Cities Kettlebell Club, and you can email me at twincitieskettlebellclub@gmail.com. Now, without further ado, let's step onto the platform and talk with members of the 2024 U.S. National Kettlebell Sport team. All right, welcome into this week's episode of the Platform Podcast. I am incredibly excited. This is a special episode because I am interviewing not one, not two, but 3 different members of the U.S. national team that competed at the WKSF World Championship in Poland in June. So I have Ayden Jones, Paul Klein, and Gianna Kreider with me. Say hello, all, and thank you for coming on.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello. Hello.
So the USA team competed. It's in. Can somebody give me? I keep forgetting how to say the name.
Rzeszów.
Rzeszów. I forget which letters are said. Rzeszów, Poland in June, and the team took fifth place with 10 golds, 6 silvers, and 9 bronzes overall. Remind me, how many athletes did we send? I want to say it was 25 total athletes. Is that right?
That's got to be close
Yeah, I
if
think
that's
that's
not
right.
it.
Awesome. And we're really, really happy with that number and how the team did. I'm interviewing on behalf of the American Kettlebell Lifters Union. So this is the official team that qualified through the American Kettlebell Lifters Union. And I want to just dive in real quick, give you guys a chance to introduce yourself and tell us, where in the country you're physically located, what you competed at Worlds, and just a little bit about yourself. So Ayden, I'll start with you.
Sure, thanks. I'm up here in Kirkland, Washington, just a couple miles north of Seattle. Started kettlebell sport about 3.5 years ago now. Competed in the long cycle and the snatch in Poland. So thoroughly enjoy both of those lifts. Started loving long cycle when I first picked up the sport, and then kind of slowly drifted towards the snatch, and I really started to enjoy my time with that movement as well. It's a great challenge, but it always seems more manageable than it really is. So it's very tricky, and I enjoy that too. And long cycle's been beating me up lately.
What weights were you competing with?
24. So the amateurs compete with the 24s in the men's.
All right. And Paul, how about you?
Hi, Jordan. Paul Klein. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I've been lifting kettlebells for about 10 years. I've been in competitions for 9, and this year at Worlds, I lifted 16 two-arm long cycle for 10 minutes, and I also did 16 snatch for 10 minutes. Yeah.
And Gianna, how about you?
So I'm Gianna. I'm in Las Vegas, and I have been lifting for roughly 5 years, since 2019. And this year I competed in the amateur 16 one-arm long cycle for 10 minutes and 16 one-arm long cycle for 30 minutes.
Oh, half marathon.
Yeah.
So of the people on here, you might just be the craziest of all of us, because you're like, oh, 10 minutes? Yeah, that's a walk in the park. Why don't I do this for half an hour?
Definitely the
A
toughest.
little bit of a glutton for punishment there on that one. So
I did it last year, and I didn't do it this year. So yes, Gianna gets
Correlation, perhaps.
kudos to Gianna, big time.
Well, I do have to say, y'all look great, because you are wearing the official USA team uniforms provided by our wonderful sponsor, Virus International, and they're the sponsor of this podcast episode. They didn't ask us to do this; we just wanted to do this because we thought it would be really cool to interview you guys. As many of you as possible at one time. How do you guys like the uniforms?
I think they're tremendous. I think they're tremendous.
Yeah.
They fit well. And I have to say, when I put this on, I didn't even have to look in a mirror to know that I looked good. I look like an athlete. You know what I'm saying? It just, you just feel like you're present and ready to go. And, a lot of us say, show up and suit up. And, when you suit up, it's just like, it's like you're in your go gear. And it was really fun to even practice in this before we actually got to Poland.
Love it.
Yeah, they gave us a lot of options too, which was nice. Tanks, different styles of shorts, t-shirts. Like, it was a really nice, variety of gear that we could choose from. So it was really awesome.
Yeah, we worked hard with them, and they've been such a great partner, and I'm happy with that. You guys are happy, because we worked really hard on the aesthetic of the design and trying to figure out what options can we give people that are reasonable to lift in, but that will also give them choices, because some of us like lifting in tank tops, some of us don't, some of us like little itty bitty shorts, some of us don't. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody's a little bit different, and Virus was fantastic as partners working with us, and they took what I will say was basically like stick figure sketches of what I thought concepts from the uniform that I kind of threw together in Canva, and I was like, here's an idea of some mock-ups, and they're like, oh cool, let me have an actual designer work. So they put it together with a real spec and everything, and it was great. So, and they turned out really, really sharp looking, I think.
They are fantastic.
And they feel great too. They feel
Yeah,
great, which I really
absolutely.
thought was the big difference
Yeah,
with this.
Yeah, very
they're
comfortable in all conditions.
such high quality on their stuff. Like I love their, especially their shorts. Their compression shorts I think
Yep.
Mhm.
are the best available. I got to get one of the shirts, but like I was gonna go buy some of the stuff, but then I was like, should I buy it if I didn't qualify as somebody that's a leader and a
Mm.
coach? Like, should I actually buy it? But I'm gonna buy some. I wanted to make sure that the athletes had it first, but you can still get the USA collection for anybody that's interested. I'll put the link in the episode notes. You can still get the AKLU USA collection from directly from the Virus website, and they print to order and ship it to you directly, which is fantastic as well, because then it's easier on the planet, and they don't carry a whole bunch of extra inventory. It's kind of print to order. So if you guys want it, we'll put it in there, and there's a discount code, a 10% discount for AKLU members, and the team actually got an extra special 30% discount from Virus for anything extra above the sponsored provided uniforms that they wanted. So big shout out to Virus. Thank you very much for your guys' partnership on this. So with that, I want to get into a little bit about Worlds itself. How did you guys feel when you showed up in Poland? Traveling internationally to go compete at the highest level is one of the biggest challenges that this sport provides, right? Because this is a hard enough sport when you show up at the gym that's just down the street or in your garage or whatever. But traveling across the world, how did you guys deal with the challenges of traveling across the world to then go compete? Paul, you go first.
Okay. Thanks. I have one of these worlds under my belt. I mean, I've lifted at worlds 3 times actually, and once it was here in the US. It wasn't WKSF. So I'm used to being around a lot of other athletes, and it's special, when you see lifters from other countries. It's incredibly special, and you realize what a wide community there is through the world, throughout the world. But getting to and going to Hungary last year was really it was exciting because you're going to another country, and and English is not going to be the first language. I mean, all these things that would happen with any traveler, going outside North America. And I have to say, just the specialness of being at a certain place for this sport was really meaningful. I think because I had the experience last year, I started my training 30 weeks out. And you don't have to go super hard, but you do have to get started, right? And you have to have that presence of mind to say that, hey, this workout is going to matter. This is going to be a foundation. So putting those layers down of all this work, showing up, it was like, hey, I'm already ready. It's really about what's the adventure going to happen in the airport, and I know that every single person on our team had at least one story about, I missed my flight by 3 minutes to get to Rzeszów from Munich. And so I spent 12 hours in the Munich airport doing push-ups and air squats and hanging out at hanging out at a sports bar and trying to find a salad, So, but then when you get with your teammates and stuff, whether they're local or not, you just feel this love and compassion for each other, and that they did the work that you did, and there is this simpatico, I think, that just gels when you get together, and it's incredible. It's such an incredible feeling, and I don't know about my teammates here, but I just felt like it was all worth it. Like every minute of training in a garage, even when it was 16 degrees, was worth this showing up here. So it was a tremendous experience.
Nice, love it. Ayden, what about you? What were some of your favorite parts for traveling to Poland?
Oh man, yeah, I just love traveling in general. I love seeing new stuff, checking out new places, seeing how people live day to day. I got there early, so I got to see the city for a couple of days and try
Oh,
to get a few
nice.
nights sleep. So, I had, kind of back to what Paul was saying, intention. Every intention that I had for the last year was placed towards going there and doing that thing, and so getting there early, seeing the beautiful little city, it just kind of all felt like home before I even had to go compete. So I tried to make it as comfortable as I could, and I think it worked out. The Poland was awesome. The people were awesome. Everybody was super helpful, trying to get me out of the airport. So, I mean, it was really cool. So I enjoyed the country, enjoyed the people, enjoyed the food, enjoyed the coffee shops. Went to the wrong university 3 days early, but that's why I got there, to explore. So it was so much fun, man. It was cool.
That's awesome. And how many people live in Sheshov?
That's a great question.
I think it's about
ask Wikipedia.
150,000. I think it's about 150,000.
It's a pretty
Okay.
good sized city. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ayden said a little city, which, that's relative to what you're used to, right? So for some people, when you say a little city, that can mean like 50,000 people. For some people, it's like, oh, that's like 1 million people is a little city, depending on what your context is. And I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I'm glad somebody knew. Otherwise, we were going to Google it live. How about you, Gianna? How did you find the experience?
Oh, I was just gonna talk a little bit about the challenges of the travel, right? Going back to what you're saying, you kind of have to get in the mental game of how many days early do I get there to adjust my body to the time schedule, right? And to the eating schedules and all that kind of stuff. And then, Rzeszów is not a major city. So for like me, I flew into Krakow first, and then you have to figure out, okay, now how do I get to the smaller city that we're competing in? And just trying to find, some people went and found gyms, like did the research and looked into where they could go get a training session in for a day or so, or we found a hotel that had a sauna for helping with recovery. So it's just, I think those mental things of figuring out for you and your body how to get best prepared. And then also weather conditions, right? I live in Las Vegas. I'm not used to humidity at all. So you're trying to get there and be like, all right, how bad is this going to be? How much chalk do I actually need for this competition? So it's just a lot of getting your body used to what the conditions are going to be like, because you have no idea until you step up there on that platform, right? So
yeah, for sure. And that is honestly something, like the humidity is not something I would have thought of, because I live in the Midwest and we have humidity all the time. So like, I'm surrounded by lakes. So I've always got
an advantage. That's a training advantage. Yep.
Right,
definitely was a challenge for me with the 30, because I barely use any chalk. I don't have someone chalk me. So it was an interesting experience to have to actually have someone come out and do chalking for me mid-set, because it's just something I didn't practice. Like, how do you do that when you live in the desert, right?
Yeah. And who was your chalk Sherpa?
So Stacy, the other, she's from Las Vegas. She was competing as well. So and then Patchen also did. He chalked my bell the first day, but she was my chalk Sherpa for the 10 and 20 minute mark on the 30 set. So
nice. That's fantastic. And I didn't ask you guys about your results, but let's talk about that. How did you guys feel about your own individual sets? Because you all talked about the challenges of travel, certainly as part of it, and then there's a lot of adjustment to new venue, new bells, new country, new food, right? All of those things. How did you feel about the results from your sets? Gianna, I'll start with you since you've gone last time.
I feel like we all talked about it, and you do about 10% less of what you expect at Worlds. And it's just, I think you don't know, like, it's a different bell that you haven't used, right? It's, some of them are super slick, right? Because they buy these brand new bells. So you're having to, we bring sandpaper, we bring our chalk, we like try and get this bell to a position that we're used to in training. But you still get up there and it's like, it's hot. The judges they're tough. If you're not right on point, they're slowing you down. They're calling you to hold. They're giving you no counts. Like it's brutal when you get up there and you're just trying to like hang in there and figure it out. But my results, I was happy with them. They weren't PRs, but they were enough to win me 2 golds. So I'll take it.
There we go. Yeah, we'll definitely take 2 golds. I feel like there's like it's almost like you should in your head have 2 separate standards, like normal PRs and then like international travel PRs, and only maybe switch that like your normal PRs under normal circumstances, and then like what you get PR for international competition with travel, right? Like
100%.
I feel like between the judging standards and the effect of traveling halfway across the world, like I feel like there's just going to be a slightly lower output. Ayden, how did you find your double 24 long cycle set and a 10-minute snatch set, I assume?
Yes, 10-minute snatch with the 24. Yeah, the long cycle set was brutal, man. It's day one. So yeah, you know what? That's a really good point. Yeah, it's no fun if the 24 is plus set. So yeah, it was really tough. The bells were a little bit slick. I found them a little bit more comfortable than I tried to. I have some really crappy bells here. I won't say the name brand, but they are not great. So I've been training religiously with them, and I think it really helped because I found the bells kind of comfortable, but the handles were pretty slick, and I had a really tough time maintaining chalk due to the conditions. So it was not good. It was not good at all, but nobody else had a good day either. So I wound up taking fourth place on that, which was amazing because it was the lowest rep count I've ever gotten on a supposed to be 10-minute set. So that was pretty humbling.
Do you mind sharing what it was? And you said supposed to be. Does that mean you weren't able to finish the time?
No, I made it about 6.5 minutes, and I got multiple no counts for fixation. I failed to clean the bells. I had to re-grip on during the acceleration pull, and so I failed to clean the bells, and so I dropped back down for a second swing. And
Stop
you're
set.
supposed to stop set. So I got 39 repetitions on that in 6.5 minutes, which was rough, man. That was
that is really rough. That is one of the challenges of international rules and the international judging standards, right? Like that second swing is an automatic stop set, unfortunately, under the rules, and that's really hard. How did you mentally recover from that for your snatch set?
I went in there with the mindset that that was just a side dish, and I was kind of a side quest. I didn't care one way or the other how it went, but I needed to beat my previous score from last year because last year in Hungary I competed solely in the long cycle, and I had what I considered a subpar set there as well compared to my previous trainings and qualifications. So it was just me trying to beat me, and I didn't do it. And I was like, that's okay. You're a pretty tough opponent. So let's just go on to the next thing. And then, we just kind of washed it and then fixed my mind on getting ready for the snatch set. So was able to hit 165 in the full 10 minutes in the snatch set. Had a shootout at the last minute there with a gentleman from Poland, and we went rep for the finish. Took a no count on 165. With 5 seconds left, so went up and did another one, and then they counted the last one, and took the W 165 to 164.
Nice. All right.
I will say real quick, that was the most exciting set I think of the entire comp, and I think you can still watch it. I think the streams are still up if you can find Ayden's set, but it was 3 or 4 of them that were slowly dropping out at the last minute and a half, and it was a great set.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask, like, so when did you, Ayden, on the platform realize that you were in a shootout? Like, when did you know? When did it stop being about your set, and then you started being aware that you were kind of in a race for first place with somebody else?
It was actually after Patchen set his bell down, because I know he's a super solid competitor, and he's so consistent. And I had an idea of where everybody was at. There was a few times where I had to rest overhead and kind of check the clock and, figure out what my next plan was going to be for the next 2 or 3 minutes. So I had a rough idea, but I couldn't see the guy on the far end. So I had really no clue where he was.
How many platforms? Were there 6 platforms running?
8.
8.
Yeah, they had 8, but I think there were 6 or 7 in this. I think there were 6 in the snatch set. So we were kind of spaced out. So I couldn't see where he was at, and once Patchen set his down, and I kind of took a quick glance, and I saw where he was at compared to where I was at, and I was like, okay, well, I think I've got a chance, because I don't know if anybody can go much faster than this, because everybody else has already dropped out, and my hands are hurting real bad, so I must be close. And then when we got to the minute mark, it didn't really matter to me. So I was like, I just got to get as many as I can. So I don't think I ever realized it was a shootout until the very end. And then I looked over and was like, holy shit.
You got it. Yeah, that's got to be a great feeling to realize that you edged somebody by 1 rep, especially when you just had a no count and you're like, I can get 1 more up. And then that ends up being the difference between gold and silver, or tying. I don't know what they do in the event of a tie. I'm assuming. Coefficient.
It goes, coefficient.
I'm glad you got that. I'm glad you got that 1 extra rep. It
was cool, man.
You did the 165 so well, you had to do it twice.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the winning rep to make sure you got it. That's awesome.
Yep.
Paul, how about you? How were your sets?
Before I start with that, I want to say something that is kind of undocumented, and that is when you're backstage with your crew, you get to watch who makes it to the platform, and you not only get to see who makes it, but you get to see how it affected them. and Ayden's was the best. And like Gianni said, that set was so exciting. I had to run out front and watch that. My training partner Patchen was out there, and of course Ayden's a friend and teammate of mine, so I'm cheering for everybody here. And so when I was backstage, when we were in our presentation block, I'm like, I know who it's again. I know who it's among. And so I'm watching people, and I've never seen Ayden move so fast as when his name was called for gold to go to the platform. He was beyond pumped. He's a pretty mellow cat, Ayden is, but he took off there like he was shot out of a rifle, and made his way to the platform, and that was just really thrilling to watch. So I just wanted to document that here on the podcast. And I felt fantastic about my set. Jordan, you'd mentioned international and national and international PRs. Well, I have a new set, and it's pre-cancer and post-cancer. I was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, and I'm cancer-free. I've been cancer-free for almost 2 years now completely. So thank you for the fist pump there. I really appreciate that. Exactly. That last year was my fuck cancer tour. It was my fuck off cancer tour. I'm not ashamed to say. And so getting to the platform last year in Hungary, in Hódmezővásárhely, talk about cities that are hard to pronounce. I practiced the heck out of saying that. But just getting onto the platform was everything. And for the long cycle, I got 56 last year, and that felt really good. It just felt like a win to be on the platform. And then snatch is my jam, and I knew that snatch I would represent myself well, and I got silver last year. And in my age category, it's challenging because you just can't figure it out when you get on the platform. I mean, you can go 1-to-1 and stuff, but I go across a lot of different weight categories. In fact, in long cycle, the guy who was lifting with me, Petro, he's 20 kilos heavier than me. So I can't do that kind of math on the platform. Yeah. And then I realized it's like, don't get sucked into that game. Just be yourself. And I got 10 more reps this year than I did last year. And that felt like a huge win. Nice. That felt like a huge win. And then for snatch, I got silver last year. And that kind of left me just like a little bit, as our dearly departed friend Adrian would say, it put a pebble in my shoe. It put a pebble in my shoe. And this year I really succeeded, and I got 211 snatches in 10 minutes.
That's about as fast as you can go at an international competition and get them all counted.
Yeah, I felt
20 plus RPMs is fast at an international.
I felt super strong. And I told
it was magic.
Yeah, Paul, you left out the best part. You did 7 minutes on your right hand.
I did 7 minutes on my right hand. So thank you for bringing that up.
Was that because you started on your left and you needed to switch earlier, or was that because you started on your right and just went as deep as you could on your stronger hand?
I went to town. That's like I've developed that strategy over the last 3 years, and it really has paid off for me. I do not want to leave 20 reps a minute in my strong arm ever. And, one approach is courses, and, it just depends on the lifter, right? Yeah, but, sure. But in my case, I'm like, I don't want to leave that in the tank. And so if I'm under 19 reps a minute, I'll switch. And I never fell underneath that. So, and I went 7, and, all my best sets I've gone 6.5 or more on the right side. So,
I love that as a strategy, actually, because it is a objective. Mm-hmm. It's not subjective based on how your hand feels or anything like that. Like, it's not, because that's a mental thing. You can convince yourself that it's time to switch, and maybe you could go a lot deeper, but you have an objective like, okay, I'm starting with my stronger hand and I'm staying with it as long as I can sustain X pace. I'm staying there, right? And until that happens, I'm not going to my weaker hand. And I think that's a really interesting. You're the first person I've heard have that strategy with that particular auto regulation parameter that is an objective parameter, which I actually really freaking love, because it's something that you can say, okay, I fell off of 20. Now it's time for me to switch, and you switch to your other hand.
Yeah, I have to say, I learned this with the 24. My best 24 was 170 reps, which is not bad, for 10 minutes. And as I was rewatching that set, this was back in 2019, I saw that my pace had sunk to 14, 15. And I thought, geez, I didn't have a prayer to come out of this one with some good numbers. So, that's when I began thinking about, hey, let's look at what are the RPMs, right? What are my my reps per minute going to be? And so that got me into that tactical mindset when I'm going into a competition. It's like, hey, well, this is how I'm going to carry myself into the set. And this way I just knew how I was going to go about it.
Nice. I love that. You guys all kind of alluded to it at various points, that you really focused on yourself rather than other people on the platform or anything like that. Do you find that to be the best mindset for you to get the most out of your sets, is to not be competing against somebody else, but to really just focus on what you can control? And why is that?
I can start off here. Yeah, go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
I would say, I think especially in worlds, because like we were talking about earlier, you have to have two numbers in mind. It's like your personal best, but also your world's best. And I think you just have to focus on that, right? Because there's a lot of things. It's like Paul was saying earlier, some are coefficient based. So you have no idea if the most reps are even going to win you the medal. You may not be competing with all of the people in your class. So you have no idea, even looking at other people's, if someone in the next flight is going to beat you, right? So I think really mentally, it's just about how many numbers can I put up on that board? Can I beat my own personal best? Can I hit the markers that I want? And I kind of like, for my sets, was just like a reps per minute, just like Paul was. It's like, if I can hit this many reps per minute and not be tired, like that's the goal, and just get as far as I can. And then you just have to change strategy, obviously, when you get tired and stuff. But I think it's just, working with your own personal best and not really trying to figure out if you're going to be the winner at that point.
What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it, that Gianna did, because you do have to go, because that's where your confidence was built, right? That's how you trained, right? So to go there and do something completely different, you're really putting yourself at a huge disadvantage.
I mean, I've got a picture up of you now. I'm gonna be like, I gotta hit 210 plus.
All right, that's cool. I don't mind doing that. But and it was interesting because in the past, I would really just beat myself up during my sets, especially 2-arm long cycle. Snatch is a different matter. Snatch feels such like a natural thing to me that I feel like I've developed my own mindset, and I really do stay in it. And you can tell when you have a shootout with somebody, and it's fun. I mean, honestly, it's fun. It's like we're both pushing ourselves. But in long cycle, I have to do this in my training because Patchen, he lifts faster than I do, and he and I lift a lot together. And when I look over at him out of my right eye, I realized that, 2 months into our training, I'm like, okay, this is me training for somebody who's going faster than me, and I'm not playing that game because I can't.
He's heavier than you too, though.
Yeah,
right?
he's a lot heavier than me, but
that's important to think about.
Yeah,
we don't think about that ourselves, but
yeah, exactly. But he's, even if he's lifting 24s and I'm lifting 16s, theoretically we should be close to one another, but that's not the case. He's better at that lift than I am. I think he has way better technique than I do. But having said that, my comrade Petro to my left, I was looking at his number and I realized that, hey, Paul, this is a mistake. You stay in your minute. And so that's all I did throughout my set. I just stayed in my minute and I focused on my technique. And it was interesting because when I did, eventually my eyes came up and I looked at the clock. Instead of, oh God, I have to hang on for 8 more minutes, it was, oh, I have time for more reps. And that so clearly came across my mind and my body, and it let me relax. It let me relax, and I really enjoyed the heck out of that set. I mean, 10 reps more than I did last year feels like a gigantic win. And now I found out. I went and I looked at the world records. I missed the world record by 1. I missed the world record by 1. So, but this is a blessing because now, what the next 12 months of my existence is dedicated to? It's getting that record at my weight class.
Two more.
That's right. Getting that record. So anyway.
I love it. That's awesome. Ayden, how about you? How did you you know had the challenge of not being able to finish the time on long cycle just due to a one bad rep, right?
Yeah.
But you also found yourself in a shootout. So how did you stay in the pocket there mentally?
I think Paul mentioned it, when he said stay in your minute. There's so many things going on. There's so many things to think about. Your mind is going so many different places. You're looking at clocks, you're looking at the judge, your heart rate's high, you're trying to breathe, your elbow's got to be in the right spot, your hand needs to catch. Like, there's so many things. So, if you allow all of that information to take over you, then you get slowly crushed by that weight. And then if you can keep yourself in a positive mindset and stay focused on your technique, on your breath, on your minute, then you find that these minutes go by much quicker because you are focused on each moment instead of each minute or each block of time. So I find that if you can slow yourself down when you're in the set, that helps a lot. And then when you get out of the set, it's just going back to the most basic thing that all athletes need to be able to do, and not put your self-worth on your performance, and understand that you as an athlete are not your last performance or your best performance or your worst performance. You are your next performance. So you have to be able to set that aside and go to the next play. That's always been a thing growing up in team sports. Next play, next play. So that's just where I had to stay, and I was lucky to have that background that I'm used to going to the next play, and I'm not used to winning all the time. So having a loss is not a big deal because I get another opportunity, and that really excites me.
I love that. And I love the stay in your minute as a mantra. Paul, I'm stealing that. I'm gonna
That's pretty good.
I'm gonna come right out and say I'm totally gonna steal that with some of my athletes because I love that perspective, right? Stay where your feet are, focus on what you can control in that time block.
Yep.
How do you guys mentally prepare yourself? Because you've obviously done a ton of work physically to prepare your bodies, and you talked about that laying the foundation and building upon that. But one of the things that you've all alluded to and have articulated in your own ways is the mental side of the game, and how that's really the hardest part is staying in the right mindset. How do you practice that in your training, in preparing yourself, not just physically but mentally?
I think sometimes managing or mismanaging your conditions on purpose can help you with that.
Tell me more.
Not putting chalk on your hands if you're used to it, or not chalking your bell if you're used to it, not wearing your belt if you're used to it. You
Intentional introduction of adversity.
Yeah, you can set yourself up for that. You can do a bunch of really hard cardio before you start your super easy 4-minute set. You can challenge yourself in ways that put you in a position that would simulate where you might be if you had a really tough set, or not well rested or something like that. So you can try to prepare for that way, but also on the mental side of things too, it puts you in a position where you have to manage your thoughts when your heart rate's high. Sometimes just having a really crap day helps too, because then you have to actually deal with your own emotions and figure out why you're feeling that way, if you're feeling bad about yourself or about your set, and that can help too, because now you got to dig.
I want to glob onto that. Patchen did this intentionally. He was really thinking ahead about. By the way, Patchen's nickname is Chalk Monster, just so you know. So Gianna had Chalk Monster helping out with the. Besides Stacy, I know that Stacy's good at that. So Chalk Monster. But Patchen was talking to me about last year, and he said, just showing up and with these different bells, they're just balanced different than the ones we trained in. And so he intentionally went and got a set of kettlebells that are older. They're older style. The handles are a little more narrow, and the balance is not the best, right? The balance is not the best. I think, a lot of us are finding that Pro Kettlebell is a really great bell, and it's balanced really well, and it really does support, high reps, and it keeps you from getting hurt.
It's fantastic. It's great to drive a Ferrari, but how do you show up and race a go-kart?
Exactly. So like Ayden was saying, this is what Patchen wanted to do. He wanted to introduce this intentional adversity. And so that's what we did in the gym. And that really does prepare yourself for your, for your sets, for your, mentally. And we lifted in the garage when it was 15 degrees one day, and then it was 16 degrees the next day. And I looked over at him and I'm like, this is Valley Forge, baby. This is Valley Forge mindset. And our dearly departed friend Adrian used to talk about this all the time. He used to talk about Valley Forge, and how, it's just you just go through it. You just do the work, right? You just do the work, and you don't have time to don't take the time, don't indulge in complaining about circumstances. That, like, yeah, it can be really rough and raw, but you're going to get so much out of making your way through this, whatever, if it's a 2-minute set or if it's a 1-minute set or a gloved set, you just go and do the work. And then when you're on the other side of it, you can, kind of give yourself a pat on the back. It's like, wow, I overcame that. I overcame that. And it really starts, but upstairs, like Ayden was talking about. It's like, learning how to not let that drive the bus, and just show up and do your work.
How about you, Gianna? How do you approach the mental preparation side of it?
So one of the things that I do is try to learn to tune out all the other noise, basically. So for me personally, I'm the crazy person that counts my reps. So again, staying in the minute, I like to go, okay, this is many reps per minute, and I focus on my count. And if I'm focusing on my count, I'm not listening to the music. I'm not listening to the crowd noise. I'm just focusing. And then I feel like that's how I get on the platform, is I just kind of black out almost, right? I just kind of start, okay, each rep, especially getting through a 30, right? I have to, it's minute, because if I'm not doing that minute, I'm like, I got 20 minutes left. Like, what? Yeah. This is going to be, But I wanted to touch on something else with the mental part too, is when you get no counted in a competition, being able to recover from that mentally and not let it beat you up and get you down. Because I saw that happen to a lot of people on the platform. They start getting no counted and they just get so frustrated and they just want to give up because they don't understand what's happening. And I think it's all about taking a breath, resetting. If it's a 30-minute set, maybe just changing hands and like trying to figure out. Because for me, it happened. My judge wanted me to stay in the overhead longer. She just wanted like a solid second of being up there. And if you're not used to that, you just have to slow down and you just get it up. You take a breath, you make sure she counts it, and then you just keep going. And it was one of those things of I have to learn how my judge works so that I can mentally hit those reps so that they're being counted every single time.
Yeah, you 100% hit on something that I think is probably the hardest challenge mentally in kettlebell sport, is getting no counted in a competition, because you have, especially if you came in prepared with a plan and it's going to plan, and then suddenly it starts going not to plan. And I can only imagine. I haven't had the challenge of not being able to interact with my judge or understand what my judge is telling me because they speak a different language, right? Like in one of my competitions, they'd be like, fixate overhead longer, right? And you would know exactly what you need to do, Gianna. But if I said that in Polish, you'd be like, the fuck is he what? Right? So I feel like that is such a unique challenge, and that's got to be really mentally challenging to overcome when you get that in international competition, especially.
Yeah, and I think Ayden can speak to this because he took the international judges course. But each judge, there's supposed to be hand signals. There's supposed to be like nonverbal communication to help you understand. But like every human, sometimes they just don't get it across well, and sometimes you're still like, I don't understand what's going on right now. And like, luckily my judge was very good about telling me like, hand signals. So I got what she was saying, but I could tell people getting frustrated because some judges would just not hit the clock or not hit the rep count. And they'd be like, what did I even do? Like, you don't really know what's going on. And it really is all about just not letting that affect your performance and just recalibrating your plan to try and get as many reps and do your best.
Now, how did you guys support one another as a team? Because it's an interesting thing, bringing together a national team from all sorts of areas of the country, people that are members of different club teams. Some of them are just training on their own. They don't, they're like a one man band off in their courage corner in the garage or whatever. So what is it like bringing everybody together? And what were those kind of team dynamics like when you showed up in Poland?
So at first it's a little weird because like a lot of us hadn't met. I know we had quite a few from Seattle, so they all kind of knew each other and had done comps together. But again, it's a tough thing, right? Because especially in US, we have so many different kettlebell leagues. So you do the qualifier, but you're doing IKO, you're doing IUKL, WKSF. Like there's so many different places to go compete that I had never run into Ayden or Paul before. But you get there and it's all support. Again, it's people offering to chalk for each other, all of us showing up early to cheer for each other. It's tough because it would be nice to all go out and have beers together before the comp, but that's not really something we're doing when we're doing an athletic competition, right? So we after the last when people started being done with their 3 days, then we were able to go out, have dinners, have a few beers, and really start to bond and like get to know each other. And it's great now. I mean, I think we're all friends. I just worked out. I was in Seattle last week and worked out with Patchen in his garage. So it's just nice to build more and more of a kettlebell community as we all start to meet each other and become friends and really like promote the sport, right?
Yeah. And I think to your point about the different leagues and tables and things like that, I will say, and I'm going to be completely honest, total shameless plug for the work we're trying to do at the AKLU. we are trying to unify across the organizations, right? So we're trying to work with USAKL so that if you qualify at a USAKL event, you qualify for the USA team that competes at the IUKL, that you get reciprocity, right? All they have to do is send us the results, and if it meets the standard that qualifies you for the USA team for the WKSF, we'll accept that, right? Because we want to build one cohesive community. We're trying to build the unity table where we're working with IKO to try and make sure that we have one standard table that we can use in the US. Like we really want to create one lifting federation, regardless of how many organizations there are that put on competitions, that we have one federation for the US that can send teams to represent the US internationally. And we know that we have one United States of America team, right? That's the goal. So I hope that we can make more progress towards that. And that's what we're trying to do for the AKLU. So I just had to put that little shameless plug in here for that. But I think it's really important, because I think what you're talking about, Gianna, is one of the challenges of being in such a big country, right? Is how do you build unity across this really large country? But the thing that we all find is, like, once you show up on comp day, doesn't matter, right? Like we're just happy to find other people that are in our tribe that do the same things that we do, that want to come up and put out their best performance and represent our country well. And like that unifies all of us.
Yeah, we do. There's also the moment too of the day before the competition. We have our ceremonial walk of nations where everybody gathers, and we have somebody with USA, a banner. There was a drill team that was there of young drill team dance athletes, and they all had our USA signs, and I mean every single country, Poland, and you could see these, like Poland had a gigantic team. They had a lot of members, but it was really cool to see them and then look around and see us. And it's like, okay, yeah, we're a team, and it begins to you begin to kind of put things together and go, oh, okay, yeah, I remember her from Vegas, or and you begin to just stitch these things together and begin to make more room for that, because you are competing as a team once you get there. Once we've all done our midnight flight, I got into Zhezhov midnight the day before, the Wednesday before, or the Tuesday before we started to that competition week and stuff. So we all had our adventures to get into the country and stuff and just get there. But that's the first moment where, because we're doing weigh-ins too prior to that. So we begin to see each other in lines and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, here, come on up here. We should weigh in with us, or so it begins to fall together a little bit. But it's challenging because everybody competes in different events. So, the way for us to get that unity going is to look at the schedule and say, okay, when's the first US lifter tomorrow? Let's make sure that we're at the venue at 8:15 so we can support this person's 30-minute set or 10-minute set. And there's a lot of that goes on at the competition, which is very heartening. And yeah, it's really great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love to hear that. What advice would you guys have for people that want to qualify for the US team next year, or that are just getting into their journey and they're like, man, this sounds awesome. How do I get to the level where I can compete, internationally and represent the US? What advice would you give to those people that are maybe just getting started or want to get started now?
Oh man, first piece of advice is get a coach.
Mhm.
It's a very technical sport, and not even so much with just the lifts themselves, but have the progressions. It's not, I pick up weights, I get stronger. It's not, I do more swings, I swing for longer. Like there's a lot that goes into it. So having a coach really changes your insight into your exercises, and that helps provide more purpose for them. And
Who's your coach right now, Ayden? Feel free to give a shout out, man.
Yeah. I coach James Ross. He's the Australian.
My boy
So,
James, he's been on the podcast.
Yeah. So James is awesome, man. And I was working with Coach Michael Sun out of Israel prior to that too. And working with a coach has drastically changed my trajectory in the sport. And I started the first year, and it was just myself, and I was able to qualify and all that, and I didn't even know that was a thing. So, after I did that, I was like, okay, well, maybe I should figure out what I do. I don't know how to do this. I don't even know how to be a kettlebell sport athlete. So it really helps change your understanding of what's going on and why you're doing it. Their insight is invaluable.
Nice. So you get a coach is what Ayden's first piece of recommendation. Gianna, what about you? What would you say?
I think focus on one lift for the start, right? One lift that you can qualify with, because especially if you're kind of first getting started, try all the lifts. See what you like the best and focus. For me, it's long cycle, which is why I was crazy and did it twice. But I think it's or like Ayden did, pick one that you really, really love, and then pick one that you want to just see if you can do it.
Side quest.
I think just try, just find one lift that you can choose and qualify, and then focus on that training to really get the best experience, I think.
How about you, Paul?
Then these are all great pieces of advice. Get a coach, find your favorite lift. My very first lift, I did snatch only. And it was great because I could just focus on that one thing and get used to this new, bizarre, kettlebell sport that I love so much now, 10 years later. But I would, then you want to grab a ranking table, and you want to look at rank 3, and you want to hit rank 3. You want to find out what is that right proper weight for you right now to get you to that rank 3 level, and work your way methodically from rank 3 to rank 2 to rank 1, and then go up in weight. And it's such a beautiful progression. I remember when I first found out about tables, and there's tables in track and field, and there's tables in rowing. And I was especially excited about finding out that there's masters tables, for obvious reasons. I'm 62. I want to play along, right? I want to play along. So, and this is one objective way that you can find out, though there are differences in different tables across the world. And I'm very excited, Jordan, to hear you talk about that unification, because it can help us get more toward, hey, what's our standard that we want to put ourselves to? And, but when you begin to look at those measures, it's like, okay, I have to do, 7 reps a minute, or I have to do 8 reps a minute. And then you can progressively work your way up. And these are the things that are going to keep you from getting hurt. These are the things going to keep you from getting hurt, because I have made the mistake, and I think all of us to one degree or another have made that mistake of just doing too much too soon.
What? Never.
And really?
I never said that I was.
Okay. Well, let me tell you about that, Jordan.
Who would do such a thing?
I tell you, you put such pressure. You can put too much pressure on yourself too. I remember Nikolai, who's my first coach. Nikolai Puchov was my first coach, and he's still really good friend of mine too. I used to work for him. Yeah, and Nikolai, I remember talking to him about lift 24s and stuff, and I just told him what my ambitions were, and he frankly said to me, he said, I think you might be putting too much pressure on yourself, Paul. And he was 100% right, because I was not ready to tell myself that. Right, I was not ready to tell myself that, and you need that coach. You need that feedback to say, look back at it objectively, because they can look and go, hey, hang on. let's save ourselves for this competition of 6 months out or 7 months out or 8 months out. But in order to get there, we need to do these other things. We need to get these other things lined up, and they can really help with your perspective so that you're not, see that you don't get lost along the way. Because you know, it's challenging training, and you have to be very disciplined about your training, and having that outside voice there telling you, you know, hey, this is enough for now. This is enough for now is super important.
Yeah, and if I can combine kind of what you and Ayden said, like I think one of the things that coaches can really help with, like part of the reason part of the reason I am a coach and part of the reason I love being a coach is because when you look at a table and you're like, okay, I need to hit 64 reps on long cycle with 220s at my weight class in order to hit rank 1. And then you're like, okay, now I need to hit, 64 with 24s to get to CMS. And like, how do I get there safely? Right. Like it's non-linear, right? And so like that's one
Right.
of the big things that coaches can really help you with, because you get this objective measure and in your head it might seem like, oh, it's super easy. I just have to go up 4 kilos and maintain the same RPMs, like, 6.5 RPMs for 10 minutes. And I just have to go up 4 kilos. It's like, yeah,
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
Piece of cake.
simple,
Yeah.
simple, but not easy, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
How do I
Yeah.
safely make that progression, like you were alluding to, Paul? How do I safely make that progression, and how do I manipulate those variables, because it's not so simple
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
actually bring it to fruition. And that's where experienced coaches, I think, can really help you progress safely and more quickly, because they might actually slow you down at the start, but because you can keep progressing, you'll actually reach your goals more quickly. And that was a mistake that I made. And,
Mhm.
as I was joking, right, I hurt myself, when I was
Yep.
younger, because I didn't hurt myself badly, but I pushed too hard too fast, and then it'd be like, oh, I'd be out for a couple of weeks, and then you're like, oh, suddenly I'm back on the 20s because I needed to step back from the 24s because I tweaked an elbow or tweaked a shoulder or some weird thing, right? And coaches can help protect you from your own worst instincts sometimes, I think.
Absolutely.
Now, Paul, we know that your aspiration for next year is break the world record for your weight class and your age category. Are there any other goals or aspirations you want to call out? Because I want to ask everybody, like, now that you got this
Oh, yeah.
competition under your belt,
So
what are the future goals and aspirations?
all right. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. So yeah, so I'm on the record. I'm going after that world record next year. Which is, I just found out today in the newsletter, it's either going to be England, Hungary, or Italy.
Yep.
So I'm down with any of those. I'm down with any of those. But I'm going to be charging after that long cycle record, and I'm going to go after master of sport in snatch with a 24. I tried this on for a little bit last year during my training. I knew I was going to do 16 at Worlds, but I thought, why don't I try to work this in? And I reached a point in my training where I was like, it was just not going to happen, and I didn't have the capacity to train for long cycle and train for snatch. So that's what's next for me. I currently am recovering from hip surgery. I had my hip resurfaced recently 4 weeks ago. So I don't even think I can do any sport training until probably October, maybe mid-September or so. So it's going to be a slow build, but that's kind of my domestic goal, is to work toward getting that master of sport in which is 172 reps, I think, for me, 24 to get that master of sport. But underneath all of this is the 24/16. So I've got this nice sustainable goal to charge after.
Love it. Ayden, how about you? How are you planning on pursuing your 2025 season?
Well, I'm not sure when it's going to happen, or at what capacity, but my goal's always been to be a professional athlete. So I'd like to compete in the elite division. I don't know that 2025 is the year that's going to happen, but that's the end game. That's the goal.
That's the
So,
big picture. I
so
love that you qualified that, because based on what we were just talking about, right? If you'd have been like, well, I want to compete on the 32s next year, and you're like, oh, that's a huge jump, 24s to 32s in a single year, and competing on the international level, I'd have been like, okay, you've got the
yeah.
cash for it, but I love that you're like, if it happens next year, okay, cool, but like you're not putting the time constraint on it. You're just like, that's the ultimate goal, and we'll see where
Absolutely.
the results are coming.
Yeah, the one thing I've learned many times in kettlebell sport is you cannot rush it. It is definitely an art, and all art takes time. So don't try to rush too fast to one goal, because it'll keep slipping farther and farther away. Just be patient, keep getting better, put in the hours, put in the reps, and it'll get there.
1% better than yesterday.
Yep.
Right. That's all you can focus on. How about you, Gianna? What are your goals for future aspirations?
I'm pretty much on the same page with Ayden. I had started the 20, doing 10 minutes with the 20 last year, actually, at your competition.
Yep.
And
I was
but
there.
unfortunately, you can't do that at World, so I had to make the choice to drop back to the 16, and I've just been kind of focusing on that. So this year I'm focusing on getting back to the 20, maybe doing the 30-minute 20 set as an elite next year. Don't think I can quite get to the 24 for the 10-minute yet. But like Ayden said, 2 to 3 years, I'm hoping to be at the 24 level. Hoping. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So for anybody that's listening, and for anybody that went to nationals and went to worlds, I will say one of the things that we hope, we as the AKLU hope that we can foster a little bit more for next year, is to get some more people competing on the professional weights, because part of the reason that we didn't do better than 5th is just because we had so many people competing with the amateur weights, and the way that it's scored, you're capped on how many points you can earn at the amateur level, but you're uncapped on how many points you can earn with the professional weights. So even if people, like if I just showed up and was like, hey, I can do 20 reps on the jerk with 232s, right? That would be enough for me to place somewhere in the world ranking and still earn points for the US team. So we're hoping we can get a few more people competing on some of those professional weights. Obviously, not just showing up and holding the weights on the platform, but like we're just trying to encourage anybody that has that potential or that capability to be like, hey, think about grabbing that professional weight and going up there and competing, even if it's not going to be a PR, or even if it's not going to be you're going to go win the gold. That's okay. Like we want to see if we can get a little bit more on the professional ranks, so we can earn some more points, because we want to do better. We want to keep going on and up.
Yep.
All medaled, right? Like I'm everybody medaled here. So
yeah.
Yes.
What was it like standing up on the podium wearing your USA, Gianna, they put a gold medal around your neck? Like what was that like? What was that experience like for you?
It was crazy. I mean, again, let's go back to the non-English. So you're listening really hard to see if it's you. The pronunciation of your name. But yeah, when they call your name, it's amazing. And you get to go, I mean, whatever medal, just getting a medal and being able to stand up there, represent the country, have, the cheers and all that. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just such a high to be part of that. Know that, again, you not only like got yourself up there, but then now you're also winning something, right? It just feels, it's an amazing feeling. So
yeah, that's what I'm hoping I can get on a podium with the USA on my chest. That's got to be an amazing feeling. So
you can, Jordan.
Oh, I know
can.
I can. I just have to make it happen.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, we're getting close on time. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So thank you guys so much, first of all, for coming on. This has been super fun. I'm smiling so hard. I'm actually like tearing up and everything. This is wonderful. I have the mission here is to become our best selves through sport. And by here, I mean the Twin Cities Kettlebell Club. That is our stated mission, is to become our best selves through sport. And I feel like kettlebell sport for me has been the most impactful thing since I quit playing football, of how I've grown as a person. How has competition or sport or kettlebell sport influenced you since you started competing in this wonderful sport? Ayden, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of relit my fire for competition in general. It's you phase out of youth sports and whatever amateur weekend sports you're doing, and they eventually don't get as fun, or you don't train and you get hurt, and it's a challenge to still chase the dream of being an athlete when you have to live the everyday realities of our existence. So it can get to be overwhelming. And so for me, kettlebell sport reignited my passion to be an athlete. I can do it anywhere. I can, whether it's 8 kilos or 28 kilos, like it all can get really hard really fast if you do it right. So it's just one of the things that makes me, excited to be an athlete again. So kettlebell sport really does it for me. It just gets me excited to get up and have something to train for and have something to pursue that doesn't interfere with me being a dad and a employee and a husband and all these other things that we have to do.
Love it. How about you, Gianna?
I think what I love about it is it always gives me the next hurdle to get over, right? Because that's the thing with kettlebells, like we were saying, there's always the next weight, there's always the next lift, right? There's always something. And for me, that's kind of how I got into it in 2019. I just saw a flyer at the gym that was doing a kettlebell comp, and I was like, that'd be cool. Let me set a fitness goal this year. I'm going to do a kettlebell competition. And then that's how it is. Like every time you're like, okay, now I'm going to hit this PR, or now I'm going to get this competition. And I think it's such a great thing to have to look forward to. And, like Abe said, outside of work and family and all the other life stuff, you have something that I could focus on and go, this is my next goal that I've set for myself. And it's just me trying to hit that goal.
Love it. All right, Paul, last but not least, has it been impactful for you?
Oh, it's been tremendously impactful. It has really meant a lot to me. Like Ayden alluded to about team sports, I've been in team sports since I was 6 years old. I started up playing catcher in Little League baseball, and I didn't stop until I got into college, and that really defined me for a long time. And I also ice hockey. So those two sports have always been a part of my life. And when I came to kettlebell sport, I was still playing hockey, but I was not playing baseball, and I really missed the technical demands of being a catcher. And all of a sudden, I found this little event called the Snatch, and I'm like, oh man, this is it, because it let me unlock how my body was supposed to behave around this kettlebell and how I was supposed to work with it, right? You really have to work with the orb in baseball, right? You've got to work with how you throw it and how you hold it and the arc of your arm and your body underneath it and your positioning. And kettlebell sport gave me that, right? It gave me that. So I had that. And then I was like, oh man, all of a sudden I can go to the rink and I'm playing goalie pretty damn well. And it's like, wow, this is like, so it's really been the central discipline that has helped me to find myself as an athlete plus 60. And it's done everything for my joy button. I mean, I'm a personal trainer. I'm a full-time personal trainer for the YMCA. I'm a kettlebell coach too. I'm a kettlebell athlete. And I'm also a Live Strong coach. I help cancer survivors get through their post treatment, or even if they're in treatment, I help them to reach their next level. And the discipline and joy and the things that I've learned as a coach and as an athlete has all translated into these other things. So it really helps to light me up from within so that I can be a beacon for others to, find their best selves. And this sport really does it for you, because we've all talked about how this just does it for you physically and mentally and emotionally too. Getting up on the platform like Gianna was describing, and Ayden, I mean, we all were on that top platform and we all got to hear the Star Spangled Banner, and it was a pure joy. It's the first time I'd heard the Star Spangled Banner where I wasn't singing the lyrics, because I sing at sports matches and stuff. And standing on top of that platform, I was so proud. I had my hand over my heart, and it was just so rewarding and satisfying. So
that's fantastic.
That's what kettlebell sport's done for me. Love it.
Well, Paul, Gianna, Ayden, thank you all so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about your background and your experience. And I really look forward to seeing how you guys do in the coming years and staying in touch. And I hope I get to meet you all in person. I've already met Gianna in person at my competition, but I haven't met either of you, Paul and Ayden, in person yet. I look forward to the day that we get to meet in 3D and sling some steel together and have a great time. So thank you all so much for coming on, and really appreciate your time, and we will talk soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks.